I'm joined now by Mark Pfeifle. He's the founder and president of Off the Record Strategies. He's also a former White House official under the Bush administration. A very warm welcome to you, Mark. So we know the clock is ticking, isn't it, on the US ultimatum to open the Strait of Hormuz or face the further destruction of Iranian energy infrastructure. Mark, I mean, that ultimatum is peppered with profanities and insults. As a former White House official, firstly, what do you make of both the style and the nature of this threat from your commander-in-chief?
Yeah, the language gets coarser as we've gotten closer to this deadline that was set up now 10 days ago and is hours away at this point. And I think Mr. Trump is attempting to get a hold of, to have some form of a conversation with Iran, and he has to up his rhetoric every step of the way to the point of where it gets very extreme. You can see that the negotiation tactics of saying we're talking to the Iranians want a deal, that has not brought about the types of results that he wants. He released with Mr. Witkoff and his team a 15-point plan that was countered with essentially the same negotiation as your correspondent said that was happening in Switzerland more than a month ago. So now we're looking at a situation where Iran has enough capabilities to give guidance to maybe a half a dozen different oil tankers a day. So they're still able to communicate. Even though the U.S. has cut off their air defenses, they're still able to guide and to pick and choose which oil tankers they're going to bring through, from 100 plus a day to 5 or 6. And that's disconcerting because they still hold that lever. So as Mr. Trump ups his rhetoric and we enter into the final hours, at this point, really there's been little or no discussion happening between the two sides. We saw a report in Foreign Policy magazine earlier this week by a former foreign minister, Zarif, which outlined an actual usable framework for how a discussion could be had, but that was not done by the RRGC or an authorized element of the Iranian government. So that's the situation we're in right now, is this potential huge air campaign by the United States hitting both infrastructure such as bridges and other core capabilities of the country, as well as its energy capability for producing it, for giving it to its citizens, and for exporting it to the international community.
Mark, I wonder if Donald Trump, the entire Trump administration, are both trying to simultaneously talk themselves up and talk themselves down when it comes to an escalation in the region at the moment. Because in the midst of all of these threats, Donald Trump told US media, namely Fox News, that he ideally will take Iranian oil if Iran is willing to make an agreement. I mean, that sounds like a president who's potentially be prepared to be bought off.
I think he's looking for a deal. Ultimately, Donald Trump is the negotiator. He sees himself as somebody who has a really good job of finding leverage in a situation and exploiting it. In this ongoing war, though, he has had very difficult time doing that. So I think that, yes, he is looking for some sort of a deal with somebody within the Iranian regime that he can have a conversation with to do that type of a deal making. A lot of that was ended with the killing of the supreme leader on the very first day of this, and then the ongoing search for somebody, that elusive moderate negotiating element within the IRGC, within the leadership, the president, the foreign minister, and others to have that discussion. But I think at this point, it's really coming down to, does Donald Trump, who has kind of played this game of sorts now for the past 2 weeks, does he actually go through with some form of a extraordinary attack on Iran? At this point, for example, taking out the military capabilities of Hark Island, threatening these areas. But at this point, we really don't know. He doesn't have enough troops in the area to do a land invasion of sorts. So that takes that off the table, sending U.S. troops onto Iranian soil with a million plus IRGC, Artish, Basij, paramilitary Iranian military officials. It's just not going to happen in that way. So it limits him to continue to hit this rhetoric stronger and stronger that he's going to take out key elements of Iran.
About building on what you've just said, I mean, we then can assume that given Iran's doctrine of an eye for an eye, they will retaliate. Trump, as you say, has talked of hitting energy facilities, of hitting Iran's Cargill Island oil hub, even possibly desalination plants. I mean, look, 100 million people across the region depend specifically on desalination plants for drinking water and irrigation. What do you make of that level of brinkmanship on show here right now?
It shows an extraordinary amount of rhetoric and the possibilities, too. I mean, the United States has launched some 12,000 targets across Iran, trying to take out its abilities to launch its drones, to launch its missiles, hitting its launch pads and other things. But Iran still has enough capabilities to manage the ships in the Strait of Hormuz and to send out considerable amounts of drones and missiles, both to U.S. targets and to Gulf state targets. They don't have to hit 100%. They hit about 4 to 7% of each of the projectiles that they send up into the skies. That's a very good hit ratio by the Gulf countries and the United States air defense. But it's that small percentage. All they have to do is get a small percentage across and get them to hit a desalination area, a energy production element, or a U.S. embassy or other thing like that. So that's the small card that they hold. But the big card they hold is that Strait of Hormuz, because that is the 1/5 of the world's oil, and that is what is driving up oil prices across the world right now.
Okay, Mark Pfeifle, founder and president of Off the Record Strategies. Many thanks for sharing your thoughts and analysis.
Thank you, sir.